I was born in Singapore to parents of mixed uh, races. My late father was a second generation Filipino. My surviving mother is a second generation Indonesian Chinese. As a citizen here in Singapore, I am listed under the bloodline of my father as Filipino. So technically, the way we go about in Singapore, I am considered what they call as in the others. Why the others? I used to ask my mom and dad, why the others? I'm neither Chinese, neither Malay. Well, I'm familiar with some Hindi and Tamil songs, but I don't speak that. So I'm not Indian. And I'm not Eurasian. I am the others. Wow. So I went through my own life with my own social and identity crisis. I found it very difficult. I found it a struggle fitting in within my neighborhood, my community, within school. I was always somewhat treated like the others. So the way I went about trying to fit in society growing up as a child, like most of us will go through, we have our own set of history of traumas that we went through. Yeah, I went through that all the time. It became a normal part of my life, you know? But because of this circumstance of the way my upbringing was, I began to discover something for myself to occupy and take fascination in. I come from a very humble family background, and all we ever had was black and white televisions that eventually became color, of course. And then there was this thing that eventually caught my fascination, which is the little portable vinyl player. And I was so fascinated. Every day I would just play side A, side B, side A, side B of this vinyl, which is actually the soundtrack of my childhood favorite movie. And I'm not so sure how many of you guys familiar with this thing. Anybody remembers Julie Andrews from Sound of Music? Don't think, dear. I sang along to that. Side A, side B. Before I was 9 years old, I was doing that. In school, at the age of 10, I remember when my teacher was asking the whole classroom, so like, what do you guys want to be? Tell us, what do you want to be? Everybody wanted to be the usual. I want to be a doctor, I want to be a pilot, I want to be everything else. And when it came to my turn, I want to be a musician. And everybody laughed at me. My teacher laughed at me. Can you sing? I said, sometimes. Something was within me at the age of 10. I decided that there was something that I held on to. It gave me joy. It gave me company. It gave me some form of hope. And in my teens, I was trained in the tertiary schools here in Singapore. At the time, we didn't really have art, a very, very wide range of choices for art schools. So I chose electronics engineering. And it was through electronics engineering that I finally discovered how things work. I found out like how the electric guitar works, how the amplifier works, how little pedals that mess your sound with, how they actually work. And yeah, it was another mind explosion experience for me during my tertiary school. So when I was involved in the field of electronics engineering, which was my first job immediately after the army itself, I was roped into the research and development department of my company, whereby actually our office was actually located here on the grounds of NTU here, long time ago. And in that environment, I went even further into explorations of signal processing. And this was the years before the Singapore company, Creative Labs, eventually won the patent itself. So how this whole went about was, I love music, I love technology, I love sound, and then I was not trained academically in music, so it was total free play what I did. And everything that I did was always based on why not? What if? And because there was absolutely no rules applied to what I was doing, I just made up my own rules. And of course, everybody from a traditional sense would say, like, what are you doing? This is mad, this is crazy, this is not music. I said, I don't care, it's fun. Lend me your pedal, lend me your amp, lend me your guitars. And then when they come over to my place, they see me string up everything, and it's like, what are you doing? So in the late 90s, with the advent of the internet, MySpace came about among many social portals that came out. I was contacted by somebody outside of Singapore, and it was actually a guy from USA who heard my tracks, and he was asking me like, dude, that's happening shit, man. Like, how do you do that? And I replied like, I was just using my voice. I was just going through an array of some sound processors which were originally designed for guitars itself. Man, that's cool, man. I said, thank you. So fast forward in 2005, I came to learn about this international community that actually originated from Santa Cruz, San Jose, and San Francisco. This organization is made up of an international circle of musicians, composers, producers, inventors, and they call themselves Loopers Delight. And they say like, welcome aboard to the family. Do you know what you're doing is called live looping? I say, oh, wow. Is that what it's called? Yes. We want you to perform. So I performed there in 2007. And in 2010, what happened was I was invited to perform at the Y2K 10 as one of 4 headliners from an international gathering of 75 artists around the world to showcase what I was doing. That event gave me validation of what I was doing. I was going through my own normal sense of low self-esteem. I had no idea whether this was going to be of any worth. But because they welcomed me and included me and featured me, it suddenly made me feel like I'm not alone anymore. And it was through this community itself, the Loopers Delight, who are made up of all these people from all around the world, a beautiful thing was going on. Talking about it just gives me goosebumps because suddenly I realized I was no longer alone. I'm not just like a Chinaman from the Far East or something like that. They welcomed me. And through the whole social exchange itself, they shared, I shared, they encouraged, I encouraged, we participate. And that inspired me to do what I have begun, which is to start up the organization which is called Live Loop Asia. And Live Loop Asia, in 2014, we organized our very first Live Loop Festival here. First time ever in this part of the world. And we invited musicians from all over the world, including Southeast Asia. And we had the show here in Singapore as well as Bangkok, Thailand. The next event that we're intending to do with the Live Loop Asia, we want to include other Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia, Jakarta, Bali, Philippines, Because the whole idea that I realize I'm now driven and inspired to do is to bring that spirit of what they did with Lupus Delight into this part of the world. Because my belief is that we are living in a modern, connected world. There's no need to separate ourselves from each other based on ideologies, beliefs, and currency. Through the internet itself, for once, now it is possible to connect everybody and entitle each and every one of us, everyone here, every one of you, with a connected world to discover that you are entitled to be your artist in your own right. It is all possible if you combine creativity, technology, and community. This performance that I'm about to undertake for you and with you, like every performance, is always unique in its specific time and space. It begins with silence, and it will end in silence. Thank you very much. This is a Klein electric guitar. It's so ugly, to me, it's cool. In 2010, when I was introduced to the mobile phone technology, smartphone technology of the iPhone itself, I was excited not just because it was just a phone. To me, it was like souped up PC from the year 2000 within the space of a mobile phone itself. And because it allows you to create sounds and music with it, I was excited because it is a musical instrument to me. And I went about the whole idea of exploring of how to interface between what is a smartphone onto this cool, ugly guitar itself. And I use this to create sound art. And I'll begin now.